The cities of Douala and Yaoundé have been put on red alert as the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party plans to stage a protest on September 22 to call on the departure of the head of state, Paul Biya. The protest has been systematically banned by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, who has warned protesters will face their forces of law and order on their way. However, the leader of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Maurice Kamto, has been holding consultative talks with other political parties ahead of the planned protests. This has forced the governors of the littoral and the central regions to ban all public protests in their areas of jurisdiction till further notice, while security forces have been deployed since Monday at strategic areas of the towns to avert any form of disorder. Douala and Yaoundé were the epicenters of protests in February 2019 by pro-Kamto supporters, which led to the arrest of over 100 of them, including Kamto and his allies, before they were released 9 months later. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, has again warned those perpetrating to stage a protest on September 22 that they will be met by a fierce resistance from forces of law and order. In a letter addressed to the governors of the littoral, center and west regions, Paul Atanganji called on them to put in place strict surveillance measures on members of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement in order to prevent them from disturbing public order. Paul Atanganji said these 3 regions are most affected by COVID-19 and any attempt to stage any public event would endanger the lives of the population. However, he stated that if the supporters of the CRM go ahead to stage the protest in defiance to a ban on public gatherings, then the concerned governors should proceed by arresting all those leading the protest as well as those who called for the protest either in writing or during televised debates. Preparations are underway to deploy teams in some regions of the start of a national vaccination campaign against poliomyelitis. The vaccination campaign will run from September 18 to 20, 2020 and from October 9 to 11, 2020 in 117 health districts located in the regions of Adamawa, Center, East, Far North, Littoral and the North. It is important to stress that any child who is not vaccinated against polio can become disabled throughout his life and thus become a burden on his family and the community. The vaccination campaign comes just few weeks after Cameroon and 46 other African countries were certified wild polio-free after meeting the required standards expected by the African Regional Certification Committee. According to the head of the Rose Leke, the certification does not mean the end of the vaccination. She said the upcoming vaccination campaign is essential because Cameroon and the rest of the African countries need to continue to be on the alert in order to avoid another outbreak. Given that the circulation vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2 is still present in some 16 countries, the risk of its spread on other African countries is still possible, she added. Thus, the upcoming vaccination campaign will take place in health facilities while children aged 0 to 23 months continue to receive oral polio vaccine and injectable polio vaccine, according to the vaccination authorities. The virus is certainly defeated, but the risk remains because the virus only affects children who are insufficiently vaccinated.